Hello again, folks. Welcome to the show. My name is Nemo. For those of you who don't know me, I am a producer, musician, an activist, and a mover here in Oakland. And today I received my first Alesis Nitro Mesh electric drum kit. I'm going to try it out, see what's up. I'll let you guys know. My guest today is my good friend Coflo from the Bay Area, from Fremont. He is a house dancer extraordinaire. He has competed all over the place. He's gone to Europe and to New York, and he does the battles. He's an amazing dancer, also a capoeirista, and who turned musician and producer. Coflo is the founder of Catch the Ghost Records. He is a prolific producer, having done many collaborations and remixes and singles with artists all over the world. In 2017, he released his first album, which is the first album that combines capoeira music with house. It's really great. Check it out. Coflo performs all over the place as a producer, as a DJ, which he doesn't call himself as a DJ, but and as a dancer. And you can find all this stuff on Tracksource and Spotify. All the links are below. Yeah, thanks for doing this. Do you have a morning routine? If so, what's it like?
Sort of. Depending on the day of the week, I might do like half an hour of like house chores, but usually I come into the studio. I usually make coffee while I kind of boot up and turn on my studio. And the first thing I do is I go through all of my emails. I am like, I cannot have leftover emails. And if I do have leftover emails, they're like almost like to be responded, or like specific things, not like a task list or a reminder list, because I also have that. But it's like I go through the emails. And a big part of that is the reason why I've built that workflow is in this routine is because I look at every day as like a whole bunch of new, it's like a hallway with a whole bunch of new doors to open, like a whole bunch of new opportunities. So I have no idea. And I wear a lot of hats when it comes to music. It's not just being an artist. So like, I'm always like, there could be an opportunity here. Don't let it sit, kind of thing. So it's like, first thing is kind of like get my coffee going, answer my emails. Then I usually check. I have a really, I don't know, in depth, but it's a fairly sectioned off reminder list or task list. So it's like if I'm engineering, has engineering type stuff broken out. If I'm doing production work, it's that kind of stuff. If I'm, it could be even things like helping my mom, like call Kaiser or something and needing to do something for my mom, like, and it's like kind of the general stuff, or grocery shopping for my wife, or whatever it is. Like then I kind of check my list and see if there's immediate stuff or stuff that has timestamps on them because they have reminders, whatever. And that's kind of like how my morning usually goes, is like get through the kind of initial what doors are opening right at the beginning of the day, what tasks need to be tackled, and then I'm on to the immediate work, focusing on anything that's not my own. So anything that's client derived is getting touched right away. That's like the first thing I'm doing.
Excellent. If you could make or play a song with anyone, alive or not, who would that be and why?
Um, Yeah, these are, I love these kind of questions because you ask it now, you ask it a year later, you ask it 5 years ago, like they always change. At least that's the way I think of it.
Yeah.
So I would want to make a song with two people, but I'll just pick one for now.
Okay.
I really want to make a song with Oceanade. So him and Ron Trent are like my musical heroes, especially in the genre that I do, and kind of like that I specialize in, or that I find the most fun, I guess you could say. And the reason why I'd want to work with him is kind of twofold. Number one, uh, I've always loved his music, and he's an icon in that way, and he's a pioneer in a lot of ways too, which is, I don't know if it's for any of these questions for me to talk about, but it's another conversation if not. But also, I've been building a relationship with him for the past year or so, working with him as an engineer, but also just he's like he's one of those guys that if you're in a family of these people who are like, really keeping this culture and this music and these relationships alive, then you're in it. It's there's no superficialness to that. It seems like, you know, with that relationship that I've been building with them. So part of it is like, I want to make music with all of the people I've built a relationship with, because that's what's cool about people that are into music, is like being able to kind of exchange. But then also because he is like a hero to me, I just think it would be a fucking cool experience, man. Like, you know, the ideas or what it'll end up coming to be. I just think it would be super cool to like know my catalog has a collaborative piece of work with them. You know,
How do you stay in the music during uninspired times?
there's a lot of ways. Um, One of the ways, which is really hard to advise people on, because of the passion and the student focus that I've had around movement arts and dance and capoeira, but like sometimes my inspiration comes from like not trying to create music, but rather trying to create movement to music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a feedback loop. A lot of people like think, oh, it must be so cool if you dance and like you know, so like does it feedback in? And it doesn't always work like that, but like it's more of like a meditative state. If I could give you, like, if some people like to meditate to then clear things and then
Uh,
re-inspire, that's kind of like my form of meditation. I can't really clear my mind, but I can literally focus on one thing, which is like seeing movement in the moment, listening to music intensely. Like the old hi-fi days, they used to call it deep listening, where you just put on your headphones and like
yeah.
sit on your beanbag, right, and fucking zone out.
Yeah.
So like that's my version, but I just do it breaking a sweat usually. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
like I'm literally, I might even be in front of a mirror, but I'm inside my head. Like I don't even
Uh,
see myself. You know what I mean? So that's one way. The other way is much more common, and I think current to today's like approaches of suggestions or tips, is like I go on YouTube and I watch anything music related. I
mm,
just rewatched the last few days to kind of re-inspire myself, because I need to write some music in the coming couple of weeks, and I've been doing a lot of other people's music or remix work and not writing originals. I watched Roots of Rhythm with Harry Belafonte. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
no.
I've watched it a million times, but I rewatched it again in sections, like the parts that they have. I didn't like watch it straight through, but like I watched it in sections over the last few days, and like um, that kind of stuff inspires me, even though it's not fully just only about music. Like that kind of stuff inspires me to want to write or create. Um, could be YouTube tutorials on stuff, really nerdy stuff. Could be engineering. Could be like actual music theory. I mean, watching other people just play music or do music sometimes is incredibly inspiring to me. Nothing like watch somebody just kill it on some keys or shred a line or something, and then I sit down and I'm like not that good, but like, but it gets you there, you know, to touch it.
Yeah. What is something you learned how to say no to that has changed your musical career?
Here's the big one: is that I said no to working in an industry that I felt morally conflicted with. So I worked in software engineering, and I actually am not opposed to going back to the software, mostly web software, but like the software engineering world. I'm not opposed to like doing some work in that world at some point in the future if I absolutely had to, or if something really fun maybe came along. But like I got in, where I got in was with internet video, and to not like make it long-winded, internet video, when I got into it, was like the birth of YouTube. So it was like during that time period where internet video existed already for a while, but there was no business. Like you couldn't make money with video yet. And that eventually got to where we are today, which is like the only real way to make good fucking money in that business that most people work in is if it's not at the beginning of the stage, like the technology provider, it always is the way the money comes in down to that level at the very end, where it's like the consumer watching the video, is in fucking advertising. And most advertising is just a moral fucking shit show, and it's not even pushing brands or image or sex or race, or it's not even any of that stuff, even though that stuff fucking does wear on you. It's the amount of money that circulates around that that could be going into so many other important things. And I hit a wall in my career where I worked on a project, I solved this riddle that was like a particular client's campaign that ended up costing like $100,000. And I just got a firm handshake at the end saying, thank you, saying, great, we're still under our $250,000 budget for burn, basically saying we can still lose another $100,000.
Right.
Thank you for at least stopping that. And I'm over here like working in dance communities, working with at-risk youth in South Hayward. We run some nonprofit stuff, and I can't even hire a guy because we can't afford to raise the money to put one person in a community center one day a week, you know? And I'm like, dude, it just, when I said no, and I was like, if I'm gonna do music, and even though it's gonna be a harder life for me, maybe potentially, or at least a portion of it, like saying no to something that like was literally felt like it was pulling at my moral strings and like kind of, I don't want to say soul sucking because it wasn't that, but it just like it was a conflict every day, you know, where I was like, damn, I can't believe I'm working my ass off for this. So saying no to that, because I don't want to give the wrong impression. Like doing music and having success or being passionate doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a living doing it. It's, you know, like, this is my school of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to say no to this shit that's like it's the counterweight to what doing the music is supposed to be, you know. At least this is the way I view it. So that's the biggest no that changed my musical career, because it literally launched my career. That's the other thing. It's like I just did music for a living at that point.
That's really good. What is one thing you define as success for yourself in music?
I make house music. That's like my thing, and I feel strongly about that because I was raised in the culture of the music, and a version of it, because I was raised here in the Bay Area, and it's not the same as like Chicago. It's not the same as Detroit. It's not the same as New York or DC, or you name the metropolitan area that potentially had it or has it now. So they're all different. But like being raised here in this culture, the music that I make, it was taught to me at 13, 14 years old, the minute I had a mentor inside of the dance and like the club arts, even before I could really understand this grown-up world of these nightclubs and these underground parties, that we're like celebrating a culture that is about having people come together that maybe have had far less ability to kind of express themselves or feel like they have a free space in society, whether it be because you're an outcast, you're gay, you're racially ambiguous, you're black, you're this, you're that. Basically, you know, these people that during these time periods in the 70s and 80s, when these musics were really like becoming a genreification, these cultures that kind of, these underground cultures that stem from it. So knowing this is the culture that's like that I'm being raised in, and the music that I'm making is still in line with that cultural ideology and that foundation. When I have real heads, and this is what they call people in house music culture, house heads or heads. When you have real heads really enjoying the music, you know, like you can see them in the party listening to your song, eyes closed, turning around, or even crying, depending on what kind of song you make, you know, like, because it's really had that impact on whatever their day or their week or their month, and it's really giving them what they need right then. That's like a really powerful thing, and it's not necessarily success in the like traditional momentum or opportunity kind of way, but it's success in the cultural inheritance, where like I feel like I'm really keeping as much as I can, because things always change and evolve, but I'm contributing as much as I can to where it makes sense culturally, and that's a success for me if I can see that from these people enjoying the music.
What is a go-to song to inspire you, to get you in a good mood?
Fleetwood Mac, The Chain. Uh, there's something about those harmonies, like right at the beginning, listen to the wind blow, watch those initial harmonies, like they do something in my brain chemistry that automatically, no matter where my emotional status is on like the positive or the negative end, or happy or sad, like it gets me like feeling really good. And then by the end of the song, when it's just like full tilt, like jamming and the fucking guitars
Yeah.
going, like by the end you're just hyped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally like well, I've never been in like metal, but like head banging hype.
And
I really wanna like jack my body, like rock my head, you know? So that song is like one of those songs that I could put on, and no matter what, if I wanna like feel something to kind of get me lifted, I guess you could say, you know?
what is something you do to avoid getting caught up in other people's definitions of music success?
Oh, I don't get consumed with uh so there's this terminology that I'm sure a lot of other people in house music culture, especially producers and DJs, will relate to, and everybody else, they'll they'll find maybe the comment a bit sexist, and that's okay because it's more of the intention and not really me trying to be a sexist. But I try not to get caught up in the DJ circle jerk. So like there is this thing in house music culture, especially in the digital age, where people are constantly kind of like highlighting each other's work, and and I don't feel like everybody is doing it just because it is the circle jerk. It is like if we all hype each other up, like we're all visible kind of thing, you know? Like I know not everybody feels that way, but there are people that are really superficial about it, and you can tell because the length of the depth of the music that they are presenting, and therefore people seeing it, therefore you think it's probably some level of success for this person because you see it more often, is not very deep. Like it's like they're getting their water from the most shallow well possible. And there's so much beautiful, like just unbelievable amounts of beautiful music out there. And there's something to be said when you discover a song that is just like incredible to you and no one showed it to you. Like you find it, and again, that's kind of the DJ culture stuff. It's like you find it, and it's like this magical thing that you found. It's like this great gift, this present. It's a part of like this longing to collect and longing to find the next new thing, or just fall in love with a new artist because you want to hear new stuff. You know, this the this it's not a fake world because there is some level of success to this, but like this world of like needing to have my shit always be highlighted is something I try not to get caught up in. It's hard. It's hard because house music, especially when I'm talking about my brand, Coflo, doing that stuff, it's like you want to see this DJ play your song. You want to see this DJ put it on a chart. You want somebody to post a link to one of your things on this website where you can buy it, or you know, like you want to see it being highlighted, but I try not to like get caught up in am I being highlighted enough? You know, and because it in the DJ circuit, it really is like this. It'll be like, you know, 24 of these guys are all just highlighting each other's music like nonstop, and then this group's like another 15 DJs or what, you know what I mean? And it's just fucking, it's a mess. Um, I mean, I'm not mad. I want their music to be highlighted. Most of the time, it's good, but like, I just try not to like feel like if it's not happening to me, I'm failing because I used to feel like that. No one's showing my shit up. No one's playing my music. I'm failing. Like, it's not how it is.
If you had to make an album using only three physical instruments, what would you choose?
So in that case, then Rhodes, conga, and I don't want to say bass guitar because I'd get mad bored of that. Um,
I'm looking around your room too.
well, so I will pick a synthesizer because this synthesizer is analog. It has a timbre, so a Korg Minilog.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah. Okay. Great.
if I could pick three physical things to make an album right now, I would pick my Korg SV1 because it's a Rhodes, a piano, an organ, like right. I would pick my Minilog again because I could do bass, pads, leads, stuff like that. And then instead of a conga, I'd pick my Roland HPD hand
I'm
drum.
looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what piece of advice would you give to aspiring musicians, artists, producers just starting out?
And being prolific uh, requires you. What I mean by that is like it requires you to make something. And here's the thing: is that at first, what that means, you know, because depending on what level of starting out you are, At first, that means like literally sitting down and writing music. And when I say writing music, because the modern age of writing music can be very different than how it used to be, where you had to know a lot of theory, you had to be able to notate and this kind of thing. I mean, like you could be somebody who just works in sequencers and programs drums. Like you're writing music. I don't discredit any form of like creating a song is not, you're not writing, sampling and cutting and you writing music. So like everything being prolific is everything from like forcing yourself to write music to the point where you're forcing yourself to get to the next level, the next level, the next level, not making yourself better, but the next level of whatever that is. If you write a 4-bar loop and you've been writing 4-bar loops for 3 weeks, well, start working on 8-bar loops and 16-bar loops, and then start working on those 16-bar loops and turning them into arrangements. And then start working on those arrangements and saying these are finished songs, meaning giving them names that make sense and like saving them as songs that you can listen to or your friends can listen to. And then eventually be prolific to the point where you have aspirations and take your time. Like this is one thing that everybody suffers from. And I didn't suffer from it because I have no self-confidence. So it was easy for me to like not want to be seen right away, but like sit back and, oh, Amy's home. Hey babe, I'm in an interview. Basically, look towards making music and making music more. Like get to the point where you're actually doing stuff. And then when you get, when you're new or you've been going somewhere and you finally are ready to kind of have your first project come out, don't hinge everything on the first project. Like get to another project. Like think of what you make as something that can be finished, even if it never gets finished, because even a part of it could add to something else that could then be finished. We're no longer limited by like tape and like weird technology hindrances. So like if you think, how do I finish whatever this is, you're going to be prolific. And that's, I don't touch music. Doesn't matter if it's client stuff or my stuff. I don't touch music unless I think I'm going to finish something. It doesn't have to be exactly as when it was started, but like I always think this will be something some point, it's some level in the future.
What piece of music advice would you give yourself 5 years ago?
Follow your heart with like your intention and why you enjoy it, not necessarily what you want to get out of it. Because I struggle with that. Like sometimes I'm like, fuck, I should be getting more. Like I deserve more. I just, this should do better. Why isn't this happening quick enough? Those things run through my head. I feel like no one's immune to that. And if you are, you got like you're like, you have mad ego issues, or you're like a sociopath, or like, you know what I mean? Like every normal human and artist is probably going to go through these at varying levels, I think. So like,
Definitely.
I would tell myself like, yo, you made smart choices, because I think I did. I think I didn't make the best choices all the time, but like my path of like how I got to where I am was me like giving up on seeing how other people were doing it. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this shit myself kind of mentality.
What is something you want to quit in the next 3 months?
I would like to never record somebody just for money again. I don't mind being, I actually really enjoy being like a post-production engineer in various different stages, whether it's mixing or mastering or whatever. But like the pre-production stuff and the recording side of it, just doing somebody because, it's a job, I just don't enjoy it at all. And I would like to stop doing that. And I will. I would also, to be honest, I would also like to stop, more like pause. I would like to pause working on other people's music,
Hmm.
and as well as remix projects, which is technically my music, but I would like to pause remixes and uh, other people's like post-production work, to first finish an album with my friend Tomahawk Bang, because we've been working on like pieces of an album for a while. And we're planning on trying to get something done this year. And we would have, if COVID hadn't came in, we would have been done already. Because I was gonna be out there. I had plane tickets and everything. I was there, and it just obviously just stopped us. So like basically I want to put stuff on pause so I can work on original music that are larger artistic ideas, including my second album, which is really slow to come to fruition. But I have an idea, I have a vision, I have the spiritual like longing that's gonna help me write the music. Like I have all of it. I just need to like make the time, and
Yeah.
focus.
What is something you have started learning, building, or changing in the last 3 months that you are excited about continuing?
Using there's so many different like engineering techniques that I'm constantly studying, and sometimes I'm reaching into, excuse me, really left field from like the music that I tend to work on the most and I specialize in. I'm reaching into areas that like use techniques that like are just so far in a different direction, and like trying to apply those ideas in different ways. And I really like using those techniques. For example, uh, using parallel compression in ways that um, are not only meant to be musical, but potentially could be meant to be impactful or fattening or thickening. And like I've used parallel compression since I learned about compression in general and like how dynamics work. So it's been years and years and years, but like learning how to use it in an effective way and then learning how to pull it out and not be afraid of pulling it out. Um, to kind of see things happen. And then also I think like too is I really need to keep building on being a musician. Um, like I don't consider myself a musician. I don't consider myself a DJ, even though people pay me to do it, and I do it all the time. But I just don't consider myself. Hey, sorry, I'm in an interview.
Hi.
Sorry, babe. um, uh, but yeah, like I would like to keep focusing on that because like I really see myself in many years as like someone who hopefully will be proficient to where like I can really sit in and play my instrument. I can really contribute in a session. Um, like I don't know if I'll ever become a musician like I feel like the sense of feel and ability that I have as a dancer. Like I really feel confident in that. And I know I'm not the best dancer, and I don't want to be the best dancer or best musician, but I just want to have a level of confidence that will get me somewhere more than I am now.
Lastly, what is the single most important change you made to go from music consumer to music artist?
Yeah, I think the thing that made so if I was gonna say like going from one thing to the other, it was the how I got into music, and I'm not gonna give you the whole backstory, but the short of it is like how I got into music production and like sticking with it was me wanting to become a better dancer. One of my teachers and a mentor for a short period of time was a man named Brian Footwork Green, and he's considered an American house dance pioneer of the New York vernacular, the New York style. Him and in a group of people of his generation, been very influential around the world. And he was a teacher. He's actually how I learned the New York style.
Mhm.
He taught that to me. And one day I called him and in the midst of the conversation, I said, Brian, what's the next thing I can do to elevate my study, to elevate my ability? Da, 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 da. And he said, well, and he's kind of an asshole like this, but he was like, you're a pretty shit student. Meaning, and him meaning like not like I'm not hungry and ready to learn, but him meaning like I just didn't like the practice. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he was used to practice like you run scales, and I'm more like I learn the scale and then I just start noodling, and I'm just
Right.
like not practicing. I'm practicing the scale, but I'm not practicing the scale. So like that's always how I've studied dances in a very similar way. I learned something and I kind of noodle. So he was like, you're a shit student, so maybe what you can do is, since you're not willing to put in the hours on these physical nuances, maybe you can put the hours into the music theory, because
Mm.
he also studied tap. So from a various different avenues. So like he understands more music theory than I think your average like urban dancer would understand, or dancer of this like idea.
Mhm.
And so I began to study theory, and also in my method to study theory, it was like, oh, you should play an instrument because it's easier than just reading about it, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna teach myself how to play piano, and it was like those kind of things started going hand in hand. And the next thing I know, I'm like, Well, if I'm over here fucking playing triads left and right, like I want to make some house music. Like this is my shit. I want to make hip hop. I want to, you know what I mean? Like it was just like it was a natural thing where I was like, technology's got to be good enough now. I was like, I don't know, 18 or 19, and it was like, I got to be able to. I don't need to buy like big ass equipment anymore. I can probably do this on my computer, you know.
Mhm.
And that was the change. It was the most important thing was like me wanting to be a better dancer. It turned me into a music artist.
That is really cool.